Good evening and welcome to the Tuesday, June 7th, 2016 regular meeting of the Brattleboro Select Board. And I'm assuming the meeting has been properly warned?
It has.
Thank you. As you'll note, there are 4 members of the board today, and David Gartenstein is not here, neither is Peter Elwell. That's why I am chair, and that's why Patrick Moreland is acting town manager. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes of the May 10th and May 17th meeting?
So moved.
All those in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
Anyone opposed or abstaining? Motion carries 4-0.
Zipping
Yeah, we're gonna zip along. I have 2 comments that I wanna talk about. The first, and I'm probably gonna steal this from Patrick, but Patrick stopped by my office today and we went over to see the Green Street retaining wall. I don't know if anybody's been over there, but it's completed. And you could actually drive and walk down Green Street now. So if you haven't gone and looked at it, you should. It's actually, they did a wonderful job on that. And the second thing is on June 12th at 2 p.m. on the Brattleboro Common, the United States Air Force band is going to be doing a concert. It is free. And the rain site is the BUHS Auditorium. And we really want to thank the American Legion Post 5 for putting this concert together. Is there anybody, select board member, that has any comments to make? Or committee reports?
You're not gonna ask the chair if they wanna, or the?
Oh yeah, I skipped right over you, Patrick.
You skipped
Well, I
that
thought
one?
I stole your one thing that I was you were gonna talk about.
Thank you. You did not steal my thunder. I got a little thunder left. There are 2 projects I'd like to give a quick update to the board and to the public about. The first is that, as many people may have recognized, the eastern stairwell at the Brattleboro Transportation Center is being rebuilt, and that project is coming along very nicely. It should be open and available for use by the end of this week, so we're pretty excited about that. And then the second thing is I'd like to update the board a little bit on the buyout project, the mitigation buyout project at 805 Western Avenue in West Brattleboro. That project hasn't been in front of the board for quite some time, but the project is moving along just dandy. The acquisition, the closing occurred probably about a month and a half ago, and we expect to be back in front of the board at your next meeting with a recommendation for a contractor to do the demolition of the property. So we're very excited about the progress that has been made on that front, and look forward to getting that project complete.
And that's the one that's been going on for
4 years, 4.5 years.
So it's not a new project.
Correct.
5 years. 2011.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's all I got. That's all my thunder.
Could you give everybody an update? The retaining wall, is the road open?
Yes.
So,
The road is open and it looks really, really nice.
It really is.
They did a really nice job.
It's fantastic up there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice job.
Yeah. Okay, now that I've skipped over Patrick, does anyone on the select board have any comments or committee reports?
The Waste District meets Thursday, and so we'll have some updates after that.
I got nothing.
Okay. Now we have public participation, which is a time for anyone in the public to talk about something that is not on the agenda. And I do have a proclamation that I'm going to do. But before we do that, is there anyone else in the audience that wants to talk about something that's not on the agenda? Okay. We have a proclamation here about the Southern Vermont Dance Festival. And I know Brenda Siegel is here. And I don't know if you want to talk about the festival, or you want me to read the proclamation. You want to talk about it first?
I'll talk about it briefly.
Yeah, please
try to
do.
be brief.
Please do.
Take your
So
time.
much to say. I think I'm too tall for this. Okay. So the Southern Vermont Dance Festival, which takes place this year, July 14th through the 17th, initially began because I'm a choreographer and I'm a dancer, and I've had that career in this town for a long time. However, during Tropical Storm Irene, the devastation, and the Brooks House fire, the devastation in the town really moved me, because I myself and my son lost all of our belongings as well in Tropical Storm Irene. And I really wanted to do something that could be a long-standing economic driver for our community, but within my own skill set. So I had this idea for this dance festival, and I go big or go home. And right off the bat, we invited some of the dance greats from all over the country, and especially that year we focused on New England. In our first year, we had about 15 faculty, and I believe about 20 choreographers who came. We did 3 gala concerts and informal concerts and free community events. Throughout the years, it has grown immensely. We have recognition from all over the world. This year, we have artists coming from as far as Singapore, and we have grown our community events. So our community events happen every day, Thursday through Sunday of the festival, from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. And that is free community events that happen in the community, so that people will come to our town from wherever and shop and eat in our town. In addition, we allow 45 minutes between all of our classes. There's 107 classes, and people who have festival passes can take those classes. We have a 45-minute break between the classes so that people will walk around and eat and shop in our town. And so that was intentional on our part. We also have our performances. We have 2 performances at the Latches Theater. Latches is not historically known for its ability to house dance. However, we decided that we wanted to use our own theater and really show it off, especially because the seats had newly been renovated at that point. So we used the Latches Theater, and we're also this year having a black tie barbecue at Rudyard Kipling's house at Nalaka. And we're having our first ever promenade performance. So it's a walk through the grounds. And that will be very different and very exciting. Our choreographers, artists, and faculty that come, we use both local artists, including people like Makui Boyes, who owns Three Stones Restaurant and has also danced with Alvin Ailey for 17 years, in addition to using really world-renowned faculty like Adrian Hawkins, who opened for Miles Davis, and those people called the Wonder Twins, who were backup dancers for hip-hop artists in the 80s on MTV and in their shows. And so we have everything from ballet to Bollywood, and from martial arts to ballroom. And what's really makes the festival unique, there's 2 main things that make it unique. One, it's really for anyone. So you could have never walked into a studio, or you could be an extremely high-level professional dancer, and you will get a lot out of this festival. You could just want to watch dance. You don't want anything to do with doing it, and you will get a lot out of this festival. You could enjoy visual art, and there's 22 galleries starting at Gallery Walk who house 25 artists that have movement-inspired art. So if what you enjoy is visual art and you really don't want to see actual movement, then you can enjoy the festival. And we make that really important. We also try to connect ourselves to the community in lots of ways. For example, this year we are connecting ourselves to the Bacon Festival, and the side of Bacon will be Footloose, and at the Latches Theater, and we have our dancers learning the dance for Footloose, my dancers at my company, Ibit, learning the dance to Footloose, which they will do with Kevin Bacon, of course, the cutout, in case you guys don't know. And then we are going to put it...
Well, we're still hoping for the real best.
And then we're going to put it up, and we're going to invite our attendees. People are coming from out of town, the hundreds and thousands of people that are coming up from out of town. Not hundreds of thousands, but hundreds and thousands, depending on what they're coming. that are coming from out of town to learn parts of the Footloose dance. And throughout the weekend, Kate will come out herself with Kevin Bacon, and they will learn that. So we do, and then throughout the year, we're doing a lot more stuff like that. We had New York City Ballet brought 4 principal dancers who came and performed. So we are more and more and more trying to connect ourselves to community events throughout the year to continue to be an economic driver, because that part has been so successful for this festival. I think that's good.
That was great. That was great. And what I'll do is I will read the proclamation. So I'm going to reiterate a lot of what you said when I read this proclamation. Whereas the Southern Vermont Dance Festival began in 2013 in response to devastation that downtown experienced from the aftermath of Tropical Storm Irene and the Brooks House fire, as a way to offer education in the arts and grow the economy through principles of creative economy. And whereas the Southern Vermont Dance Festival has grown quickly and become a staple dance festival to the local business and arts community, as well as the dance community internationally. And whereas the Southern Vermont Dance Festival provides an educational dance opportunity that is accessible to all levels of interest, from the dance enthusiast to the dance professional, by offering world-class instruction in many genres, in addition to offering performance opportunity to choreographers from the emerging artist to the well-established professional. The Southern Vermont Dance Festival is an economic driver for the community by using local businesses as vendors and driving visitors of the festival into local businesses for shopping, eating, and enjoying. And whereas the Southern Vermont Dance Festival attracts attendees, artists, and professionals from all over the world, including Europe, Spain, Hong Kong, and Singapore, and from every corner of this country. Artists such as principals from the New York City Ballet, Bill T. Jones, Arnie Zane Company, New York Live Arts, Adrian Hawkins, Ryan Casey, and many more attend the festival each year and perform and teach to all levels and interests, making dance accessible to all. And whereas the 4-day festival serves all ages and offers a unique format in dance education and exhibition with 40 world-renowned faculty, 35 choreographers, and over 100 master classes, a camp for children, 3 gala, 2 informal, and dozens of free community performances, live music, and performance art, as well as lecture series and roundtable discussions. The Southern Vermont Dance Festival is a versatile experience in dance and the arts that utilizes the local downtown as a campus for the event. Now therefore be it resolved that the Brattleboro Select Board does hereby proclaim July 14th through 17th, 2016 as Southern Vermont Dance Festival Weekend. Yay. And we have a signed petition, or proclamation. I think Jan has to.
Go ahead and give it to her and I'll
Yep.
copy it.
So Brenda, we'll give you the signed proclamation.
Okay, do I?
You can come right out. You're allowed to come to the front.
I know. Oh, it is.
Thank you.
Good luck with that.
Okay.
Didn't get to keep that for a while.
Yeah, that's gone. You'll get it back. Okay, we'll move on to new business, and the first order of business is to approve a resolution, certificate, and related documents for additional bonds for the police fire facilities project. And I'm assuming John O'Connor is going to explain that to us?
I can give you a brief explanation.
Okay.
Paul Giuliani, our bond counsels, who prepared all of these documents. There are 3 that require the select board to sign this evening. The first is a resolution, and basically it just says that the select board is moving ahead to execute the bond. The next document that the select board is asked to sign is the tax certificate. And basically it just says this is a municipal bond, it's a tax-free bond, and it's going to be used for municipal purposes, and will meet all these conditions related to municipal bonds. And on that form where you sign the tax certificate, there's a place for a date to be filled in, and Paul has asked that we not fill that date in, okay? And the final document that the board is asked to sign is the bond itself. And that just outlines the bond payment schedule, and it's a very brief document that just basically shows the loan amount and repayment schedule. There are other documents that are signed by me, the treasurer. There's the loan agreement that the chairman of the select board is asked to sign, and Jan assures me that David is coming in tomorrow to sign that. So these are all just legal documents related to the bond and going through the bond bank process to get the $7.8 million.
Okay, so just to be clear, this is for, as you just said, the $7.8 million. And this was what was approved at town meeting?
That's true.
So this has all been approved? This is not new money, and it's to be used for the police fire project?
That's exactly right.
And they won't set the rate until that bond is purchased,
That's correct.
right? So we won't know that
Until July.
July. Okay.
Is anyone else on the board? Dick?
In the documents, John, pages aren't numbered, but would be the third page, in the middle of the page. And it states, "I direct your attention to the tax certificate and the representatives containing therein. This certificate should be read carefully. There are some material changes from the previous used tax certificates. The Internal Revenue Service, Treasury Department, Securities and Exchange Commission, and the Municipal Securities Rulemaking Board have established new standards of disclosure with respect to certain tax matters, post-assurance records, keeping material events." Can you enlighten me to a little bit about that?
I think the major change here is the post-issuance requirements, that we're now annually required to go in and certify that the proceeds from the bond did not earn more than the interest rate on the bond. And we're required to certify that all of the expenses related to the bond have been used for municipal purposes. So it's things of that nature that have been tightened up a little bit.
Thank you.
So they don't want us making money on our money.
That's right. That's right.
That's pretty interesting, isn't it? Shocking.
So does that mean when we go to the closing, they all get checks, like when you close on a mortgage and everybody gets a check from you before they go home?
Actually, the checks go to the trustee, which is U.S. Bank. And then we file a reimbursement request with U.S. Bank once we've expended the money.
That's the dispersing agent.
They're the dispersing agent
So
for
they
the
hold the
bond bank.
money until we spend it.
That's right.
Is anybody else on the board?
No.
Does anyone in the public have any questions or comments? Okay, guess
So
we're...
this is all just the technical end of it.
This is
Yeah,
some
this
science.
is...
Very much so.
The very technical end of the bond.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because it's been approved by town meeting, so we're just moving ahead with
Yep.
Making it real.
making it real, yes. So does anyone like to make a motion?
To approve the resolution, certificate, and related documents to borrow $7,800,000 plus interest from the Vermont Municipal Bond Bank.
Less than 9 million.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Just me.
All 4-0, it passes. I had to do math for a second. Okay, the next
I'm done.
item is to approve a grant agreement and accept and appropriate a grant for the $200,000 that the town has received because of the impact that the I-91 bridge has had on our community. And it was a few meetings ago, was it last meeting, Patrick? Or a couple meetings, 1 or 2 meetings
Thanks,
ago,
Okay.
where I think David Gartenstein explained that the town was getting $200,000 to be used from the Agency of Transportation to use pretty much however we'd like, but I think it was decided to use it on Upper Dummerston Road to repave some of that. So I guess this is just accepting the money, is that correct?
Yes, this is accepting the grant agreement and appropriating the $200,000 for a couple of paving projects, both of which were chosen because of the direct impact that those locations have felt as a result of the I-91 bridge project. So Upper Dummerston Road, as you said, and then also a section of Western Avenue from Allerton to Chestnut Hill. And both locations are in need of a good paving job, and this grant will fortunately allow us to proceed with that nicely.
Yeah, and I want to say one more time, thank you to the Agency of Transportation and to the governor for making this happen.
Now, did we actually go out and look for this grant, or, I mean, did they give it to us because they knew that we ran into a bunch of problems?
Yeah.
I think we pointed out that the
I
roads
know,
were getting
but-
torn up.
Yeah, they
But, so this grant just became available.
there was a recognition from both the Agency of Transportation and the governor that, you know, the town of Brattleboro was impacted because the
Right.
bridge project has gone on longer than expected. And of course, it was announced that it was gonna go on even longer.
Yes.
So, you know, there was a recognition for what it's really done to, you know, the traffic and everything, so
So
This
next
is-
year, when the bridge is still going.
we can ask again.
ask for another one.
Hopefully this won't be an annual.
Yeah, we want it to be over with. We want it to be over with,
Not want an annual grant, but.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, does anybody on the board have any questions or comments? Does anybody in the public have any questions or comments about the wonderful money we're getting? Okay, I guess we need a motion.
I move we approve the grant agreement with the Vermont Agency of Transportation and accept and appropriate the grant funds in the amount of $200,000 for repaving portions of Upper Dummerston Road and Western Avenue.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed or abstaining? It passes 4-0. Okay, I think Rod is up next, and we're talking about the application for the FEMA Pre-Disaster Mitigation Grant to purchase land along the Whetstone Brook.
Good evening. I'm Rod Francis, the Planning Director, and tonight I'm joined by the Executive Director of the Vermont River Conservancy, Steve Libby. And we're here to discuss the possible submission of an application for pre-disaster mitigation funds administered by the state of Vermont for the potential purchase of a roughly 12-acre parcel at 250 Birch Street, which, as you know from recent presentations from our department, lies basically on the other side of the Brook from William Street, just past downtown. So the pre-disaster mitigation program has been changed in recent years to allow for the possibility of purchasing land for floodplain restoration, and this project conforms to that criteria, and we are hopeful that the program will provide support for the purchase of this property. The FEMA grants such as this work on a 75-25 split. 75% of the funds are FEMA funds and 25% are provided locally. In this instance, the definition of local can include not-for-profits and state entities, and there's a commitment already been provided by the Vermont Housing and Conservation Board and the state-administered Environmental Restoration Program, the ERP, through the Department of Environmental Conservation to commit the funds necessary for the 25% local match. So if this application is to be successful, then the purchase would proceed and the town would be making no financial contribution to the purchase.
Now, who exactly will own the property?
That's a point that's still being clarified at this point. The Vermont River Conservancy, and Steve can talk to this in more detail, actually has a purchase and sale agreement with Sosno Industries currently. But the expectation is that it's a placeholder arrangement, and that subsequent to establishing funding for its purchase and doing environmental review of the parcel, that the ownership of the parcel would potentially pass to the town. Under the pre-disaster mitigation program, it would be required to be held by the town.
And is that why the town is the one putting in the application?
Not-for-profits such as Vermont River Conservancy are not eligible applicants, but towns are. So,
Dick?
That's always been a storage area, holding area. Is there, and I can't recall, is there impervious surface down in that plot of land? Or is it just,
its permeability is open to interpretation. It's got about a foot to 18 inches of coarse 1.5 to 2 inch stone on it, and then sand and accumulated dirt that's filled in around the gravel. And so it's not totally impervious, but it's not particularly permeable either at this point.
so by making this purchase, we are just looking to make sure that nothing else goes into that plot of land?
No, it's been the subject of sustained study and been identified in various state reports done on the topics of flood resilience and water quality management. And it's been identified as a parcel that, if it was to be restored, could provide important flood storage under flood conditions if the site was excavated, basically if the gravel was removed or piled up and rearranged in such a way that the elevation of the land is dropped somewhere between 4 and 5 feet. And the other potential for it is to work as a natural stormwater filtration space, so that stormwater that currently enters the Whetstone Brook at the northern tip of the property, untreated, would become treated. But the treatment would happen on that site. And then lastly, most recent work has looked at making it also an open space where visitors would come to understand the relationship between the brook and the lands around it, and how our stewardship of the land impacts the brook. And so how this parcel would function as both floodplain and stormwater management.
So that piece then just becomes a relief area?
A relief area that's under normal conditions such as today, passive open space that
Exactly.
people can use for recreation.
Right, but at some point,
Yeah.
it may come
Under
into...
bank full conditions,
Right.
part of the parcel will be inundated at least.
So then some work does have to be done to that land to make it
Yes. The
acceptable.
first step is an environmental review, and
Yeah.
the town has the resources with our brownfields program to undertake that. And we've also had a commitment from Wyndham Regional Commission that we can use their brownfield resources in addition to our own. And then further study needs to be done on the most appropriate design response to the setting, and that would require state permits.
So the soil hasn't been tested?
No,
Okay.
not at this point. And so that's one of the next steps that we have to take. We have placed an RFP amongst the 3 contractors that we've got pre-existing commitments with to do the brownfield study.
Yeah, I can't believe there's any contaminants in that. They just stored lumber there, didn't they?
Yeah.
So, okay.
Maybe a lot of creosote treated lumber.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see what comes up.
Exactly.
It's only been there for a few hundred years.
I know. It will be interesting to see.
It will be, I mean, I know it sounds cynical, but I actually am genuinely interested in what's going to turn up.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. So, does that help, Dick? Did you? Yep.
Yeah, no,
I mean, one of the questions is, for instance, is it affordable and is it practical to actually think about removing the gravel or just rearranging the gravel on site? There's all sorts of those questions that still need to be figured out and planned.
that area is like a funnel, because once you get down to the corner where we had the real problem
Yep.
with the building, that's where all the energy is gonna
Right.
recreate
Right.
a problem again.
And so by allowing the stream to enter at the other end of that parcel, at the sort of
Right.
the southern end, you would use all that land, that 12 acres, to basically, or at least most of those 12 acres,
Relieve
to dissipate the energy.
Right.
And then by the time it makes that turn, where it meets William, when it comes up tight against William Street, that it's got a lot less energy in it.
And that's also by lowering it, right?
Yeah, and will be a lot, there'll be a lot more room for storage.
Right.
So, right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. You mentioned our brownfields resources. Is it possible or likely that that this project would consume all of ours and the chunk?
No.
Okay, so not want to have it all gone?
No, we have assessment funds, and Wyndham Regional Commission actually operates a revolving loan fund for cleanup. So assessment is separate from cleanup.
Okay.
We can do the analysis of how contaminated
And still
it
have
is, and
resources for
then we can
businesses.
access their resources to actually fund the cleanup if that's what's required.
Does anyone in the public have any comments, questions about this project? John, you look like you have.
No, I was just wondering what Steve, if there's any other,
Do you want to see what he sounds like?
yeah.
Go on, say something.
Yeah. Well, Rod did a great job, but, our perspective, we're a statewide river conservation organization. We've done a lot of post-Irene flood resilience work. This particular project, in everybody's kind of analytical perspective, ranks among the highest and most important things we can do to mitigate future flooding events. It's a very direct relationship between water stored on this site and lowering flood levels in downtown Brattleboro. The economics of it are pretty straightforward, that, dissipating the energy up here means less damage downstream. So it's we've gone out to two other funding sources, the Vermont Housing Conservation Board and the Ecological Restoration Program, and have received grants from both of those with much enthusiasm. Those are very competitive statewide grant programs. So this is seen as obviously a very important direct benefit to downtown Brattleboro, but also an example of how we can deal with future flood events statewide if we can, demonstrate this. Our rivers have been altered dramatically over the past 200 years, and this is an opportunity to return the river to its ecological function that will benefit the downtown area. So it's a great project.
What's interesting about this piece of property is that its location and that it's available.
Right.
I mean, because it is in an integral part of that river, where it's a great spot to have water flow into that, that
Yep.
12 acres. I mean, it's ideal for it, and to have it become available, I mean, is.
Yeah, so it's you never want to say it's a once in a lifetime chance, but this is an opportunity that doesn't come along very
Right.
often
Right.
for a significant, perpetual benefit to the downtown area.
The answer to this question doesn't change anything, but did you seek us out, or did the town seek you out? Like, how did this all come together? Do you know what I mean? Does the river conservancy?
How do we meet?
Yeah, 18 months ago, I got a call from Sue Fillion asking, how do we conserve land along rivers? And we started the conversation, and it's been a great partnership so far. So we're happy to do, what we do, which is to facilitate these type of transactions. So we right now hold the purchase and sale agreement with the landowner. It's assignable. If in the future at all everything looks good, we can assign it to the town. There's a number of kind of future pathways this can take, but the good news is we have a secure agreement with the landowner to go ahead.
Great. Any more questions?
No, I think it's gonna be a great piece of property to have for that.
So basically, tonight what we're doing is having Patrick, giving him the permission as acting town manager to apply for the grant.
Exactly, and the deadline for that is June the 15th. There's still some work to be done on the grant application, and
Super.
if everything comes together, then it would be great if Patrick could do that.
Super, okay. Does somebody want to make a motion?
If I can find it. To authorize acting town manager Patrick Moreland to apply for a FEMA pre-disaster mitigation grant to purchase 250 Bird Street, contingent upon the Vermont River Conservancy satisfying all conditions of the grant, including the 25% local match.
Thank you. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? It passes 4-0.
Thank you very much.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
Steve, thank
Very
you.
exciting. All right, I guess Carol Lalott is up next. We're gonna talk about the bid for the Phase 2 of the window replacements at the Gibson Aiken Center.
This is what happens when the bids don't come in low enough. It starts kicking,
And then you get kicked back.
and then it kicks back.
Carol Lott, Recreation Parks Director. We put out to bid Phase 2 of our window replacement project at the Gibson Aiken Center. The RFP was to include upgrading the 24 openings that we have in the main gym at the Gibson Aiken Center, not the gymnastics room, but the main gym. With that being said, we had a bid opening on June 1st. We received 4 bids ranging from $10,942.12 up to $77,000. Those bids came in from Portland Glass at $10,942.12, Vermont Vinyl $29,875, Daw Brothers $32,250, and GPI Construction at $77,000. We have $30,000 budgeted for this project. Our main goal of this, we had 3 things, and they're not in any particular order of 1, 2, and 3, because they're all equal to us. Number 1, safety. Number 2, functioning. And 3, the energy benefits that we'd receive from these windows. With that being said, we did need to disqualify one of our bidders, as they did not meet the full request in the RFP. They only gave us a bid for replacing. What we asked for was that there's 24 openings in the gym, and we asked for each opening to have twin single-hung units. And the one company only bid 12 of those windows. And so that would replace only half of our windows. So with that being said, I'd like to recommend that the bid be awarded to Vermont Vinyl for $29,875.
Now, will Phase 2, will that complete the
No.
project, or are there more
One more.
phases?
There'll be more phases. The phase that was completed last fall pretty much took care of the entire first floor of the, not the senior center, the entire first floor, which included the gymnastics room, all the offices, the conference room windows, the restroom windows, and then we also have 2 stairwells in the back of the building, and we replaced all of those windows back there with a $30,000 last year. And so this year, we would have enough to do the main gym, so a big chunk of it being taken care of with those 2 gymnasiums. And we saw significant changes last winter.
Now, do you want to address the issue that was a couple of weeks ago, or maybe a month ago now, that we had the woman that did the energy audits, and she was mentioning something about the windows?
Yeah, Margaret Dillon came through the building at a time when we were going through our check and balances with the final walkthrough with the vendor. And at that time, that we were addressing it, she was also coming around with her cool tool, her infrared testing tool, and we could see that there was some workmanship that needed to be addressed, which that workmanship led to recaulking several of the windows because there was, I'll just call it leakage, you know. So they went through, Vermont Vinyl, who actually got the bid in Phase 1, went through and recaulked all the windows. That was done immediate, you know, within the week. They were back in there, took care of all of that. So they were great to work with, and they did address that. But one step further, I have asked Margaret if she would consider bringing her handy little tool down. Again, this probably not till the project the project will be done, but then it probably won't be until like October, because she needs the outside temperature. You need to have some issue, out there, so that she can figure out, what's going on. And for $150, she will come through and do that for us. And from my standpoint, that's money well spent. It's money well spent. But we were very happy this past year I know Mother Nature was very nice to us, but we have a significant reduction in the number of gallons that we used at the Gibson Aiken Center.
Plus the comfort level is very different without the drafts blowing through.
Oh, yeah, definitely. There's the comfort level, but beyond the comfort level, the fact of having functioning, safe windows that we can use. I put them up with a finger, down with a finger type thing. And the one thing that I failed to mention on the windows that are being replaced, because it's in the main gym, that will be impact glass, and it's going to be gray tinted. We have a lot of programs that take place during the day. Our pickleball program has taken off like wildfire. We have anywhere between 15 and 22 people in the gym 4 days a week. And they're right at that prime time when the sun's coming through with a glare. So we did ask for these windows to be gray tinted. So that will be a big impact, be a big benefit for our users.
Now, you said Vermont Vinyl did the first set of windows?
Yes.
And we had, what was her name, Carol, that came here for the energy?
Oh,
Margaret did.
Margaret.
Yep.
So luckily for us that she was around and she tested the windows. Having said that, why wouldn't we have in the RFP that these windows would be tested after installation rather than us having to pay someone to come in to make sure that they're sealed properly? Why shouldn't we have the installer come back when the temperature changes to make sure that they meet the specifications that we were looking for in the first place?
That is something that was an oversight in the bid, and we didn't put it in there. I kind of, behind the hindsight on this one, for the, in the future phases, we can include that in the RFP. In this one, we did not.
I think it's a really sound point, Dick, and something we can work towards, including some sort of testing when we put out certain types of work. Based on the wonderful experience we had with Margaret, it just seemed like we reached out to her maybe a week or two ago and said, can you help to verify that these things are being installed and installed well? And as Carol pointed out, it's relatively low dollars and money well spent, but something we could definitely incorporate into future bid packages.
Well, we are spending $30,000. We shouldn't have to spend another $150 as well as good as work as she does to make sure that the work that should have been done is done. So that's the point that should be taken, and since it's not in the RFP, I guess we're at where we're at.
Well, yeah, for me, that's kind of what the fox got in the hen house. So, I mean, when you have the installer doing the actual testing, I think, and I agree with you that it should be done, but I would rather have somebody independent do it than having to, because again, the person that's putting in is gonna go, oh yeah, no, they're perfect, they're great. So you're asking for, and for 100 and...
Unless it's you.
Unless it's me,
Unless
then
you're
they're
the
putting it
contractor.
perfectly. Yeah, but, no, I think even an independent person on something like that is, for the little bit of money that it's gonna cost, I mean, you're getting an independent, advice, and I don't know if I really trust.
It's a second opinion.
It's a second opinion, and
It's a good thing we lucked out. Now we're gonna just make sure we don't have to luck out.
Correct.
Yeah,
Correct.
great. Thank you.
Does anyone in the public have anything to say? Would anyone like to make a motion?
Sure. To award the bid for Phase 2 of the window replacement project at the Gibson Aiken Center to Vermont Vinyl in the amount of $29,875.
Okay, we have a motion to award the bid for Phase 2 of the window replacement project at Gibson Aiken Center to Vermont Vinyl. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes 4-0. Thank you very
Great,
much, Carol.
thank you.
Carol.
Hey, Carol, while you're here, when is the pool open?
It opens on June 18th, which is a week from Saturday. So we have a swimming lesson registration that morning from 10 to 12, and also the following week on Thursday and Friday. But it'll open for the season for public swimming on Saturday from 1 to 8, and every day right straight through throughout the season. Swimming lessons start the last week of June. We still have a lot of openings in all of our programs, so if you're looking for a place with kids letting out, or the school letting out in the next few days here, we've got plenty of space in day camp and all of our specialty camps, soccer camps, basketball camps, gymnastics camp, our multi-sports camps. So check us out on the web and come on down and get the kids busy for the summer.
Carol, will the summer meals be distributed there, or is it somewhere else in the park?
We have 2 locations at the park. We have one out on the playground area.
Right.
Every day from 12 to 1. We'll have the meals program. During the 6 weeks of day camp, any child that's at day camp, meals will be delivered up at the Kiwanis shelter, actually in the morning down at camp registration for snack, and then for lunch at the Kiwanis shelter that day.
And did you find the leak?
At the pool?
Yeah.
It's all in the gutter. It's around the gutter system.
Is that right?
In the top 6 to 8 inches. So
Well, that's at least good to know.
yeah, it's not the drain or main drain or anything like that. It's all in the top 6 to 8 inches, and you'll be seeing me later this summer as we review those bids for that. Hopefully that work will pretty much start when the pool closes and be ready for opening a year from now, and that's to address that whole issue.
Still a lot of water going away somewhere.
There's
Sure
still
is.
a lot of water. Yes, but a year from now we won't be able to say that.
There you go.
Thank you,
Thank you very
Carol.
much.
Okay, I guess Annette, Kathy, and Marshall Wheelock are up next with a couple of items about the cemetery.
Well, you're gonna be home before Wheel of Fortune's over. if you keep it up.
Okay, I think first off, we're gonna do is it the first reading, Annette, of the new cemetery, or the amendment to the cemetery ordinance? So do you wanna tell us what we're amending and why and what it is?
Okay. The cemetery committee is becoming less and less active, and it's becoming more and more difficult to find bodies to fill the slots.
You really shouldn't put it in those terms. You may want to change, on the cemetery committee, you may not want to have bodies for,
Okay.
okay.
It's very difficult to find living beings that will fill them.
That's a lot.
And so our recommendation is that the membership be limited to a total of 5 people, which is particularly important because we now have in town the 9-year rule, where you've been on an appointed board for 9 years, you have to get off, at least for 1 year, which means that everybody but, three of our members will be leaving as of the end of June, myself included. One of those, I believe, is also under or does that take care of the lady who's offered her?
No, actually, it puts us down to 2,
Right.
once we have a resignation.
One resignation, one of our members is moving to Massachusetts,
Right.
so, which was too bad, because I believe she was one of those that had lots of experience dealing with cemeteries. And then the other thing, the other reason we're here is we have, and I don't have a copy of them right in front of me, but we do have a bunch of suggestions to change our regulations, or whatever you want to call them,
Ordinance.
dealing with the cemetery, what's permissible, cemeteries, what's permissible there, what isn't, that sort of thing.
And
So-
tonight is the first reading
Excuse me?
Tonight is the
Yeah.
first reading of the ordinance changes, and then about 2 weeks from now, we'll probably do the second reading and have the public hearing, if I understand.
So I believe you have them in front of you, like
We
I said.
do.
I didn't know
We
enough to
do.
bring a copy.
We do. And just to clarify, there are two things we're doing. We're going to have a motion that's gonna change the number of people on the board or on the cemetery committee. But that is in the ordinance, we're taking out the number and just putting the select board will determine it. Okay, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So what we'll do, why don't we take up we'll say we're doing the first reading first, and then we'll take up the,
Okay, I guess we're prepared to answer questions. First one, of course, was moving the number of members down to 5, reduce the number of meetings required from 2 monthly to as needed, and I will assure you that we've not been meeting twice a month for a number of years now. So that's just, and at least one meeting required annually, which will be held in May. Wanted to adjust the number of cremains allowed to be buried in a plot containing an existing casket from 2 to 4 containers. More and more people are following that path now, and that we're receiving more and more people, more and more cremains rather than caskets. The town clerk shall be informed, or the town clerk's office should be informed prior to any digging. The office of the town clerk will be notified in writing, and a permit shall be issued from the clerk prior to the removal or relocated of burying cremains. And the town shall require an opening fee of $100 for each burial or removal, including cremains. Corner markers, right now it calls for a single initial, but a second initial can be carved on a cornerstone marker prior to installation at the expense of the requester. Headstones, the placement of a headstone shall conform to the direction of those in place in an existing row. When establishing a new row of plots, headstones shall be placed on the west end and faced east. It becomes very confusing if headstones are at both ends. It's not always entirely clear where the person is buried. Are they on this side of the headstone or that side? So if we can have uniformity, at least in the new rows as they move forward, as we move forward, that would cover that problem. A number of people like eternal flame type installations now, and we would suggest that a single solar powered light be permitted on a gravesite. It should be placed within the plot in the space allowed for plantings. The light should be no more than 12 inches in height, and glass on any fixture is strictly prohibited. The last being a safety measure. It's always easy for a lawnmower to get just a little too close, and if you have a glass urn or a fixture or whatever, more than likely it's going to shatter, and that's not good. Set aside an existing section of Morningside Cemetery known as Maplewood and designate it for the burial of residents of the town who have been determined to be indigent. Under Vermont law, the town has a responsibility for that, and this is a section of the cemetery that is kind of isolated from the others. Not that that should make any difference, but it just seemed like the natural place to have it. We would accept the burial of cremains only, and in the event that a family of a resident lacks funds to purchase a plot, the town should waive the purchase fee and opening fee. I don't know if that made it into the suggestions you have before you or not.
yes, it is here.
Yeah. The town shall not be responsible for the cost of a marker. That, as I recall, kind of goes against what the state statutes call for, but if we have it in writing and we say we don't do it, maybe that'll help. Create a new section in Morningside Cemetery for the burial of cremains only. When we were here, I believe, back in January, showed you that in front of the mausoleum, we have a heart-shaped area that is already in existence. That's where the flagpole was placed in the middle of that when we dedicated a flagpole down there several years ago. And we have it worked out where that would be where the cremains could be. The suggestion is that the new section be named the Walsh section. The town establish a flower garden in the area surrounding the flagpole, and plantings and decorations not be allowed on individual plots. Each cremains plot would measure 40 inches in width by 5 feet in length. No more than two cremains containers to be buried in each plot, and stone markers should be flush with the ground and no wider or longer than 30 inches. The plots will be numbered and sold in numerical order only. That way, because it will be crowded, it just makes sense to have it that way rather than sell family plots. So you've got used areas here and an open area and then another used area over here. It always gets into problems when the two meet.
Now, can I ask you a question? Why is it called the Walsh? What's it?
Because Mr. Walsh was very active in the work of the committee when it first started.
Mr. Walsh is also the person who donated the flagpole.
Oh, great.
Mm-hmm. And we suggest that each of those plots be sold for $250. I'm not sure what else we have there.
No, that was pretty much it.
I think that's it. We also gave some other suggestions, but that's the only things that we feel should go into the written rules.
Great.
Questions?
Any questions? We're gonna have a...
No, I have no questions on this. I have questions on a question on something else.
Okay, because what we're gonna do in 2 weeks is have the second reading, and then we will have a hearing, and then I'm assuming we will adopt this.
Vote it up or down
Yeah,
at that point.
We'll
right?
vote some way.
Okay.
Thank you on that one. And now the second thing is the change in membership of the committee. And you touched on it, but if you want to say it one more time, if John has a question.
Simply because it's difficult to find individuals to fill all the slots. The committee had a lot of work in front of it when it was first set up back in 2007. Back at that point, by month, 2 meetings a month did not seem unreasonable because we were starting from scratch, and our mission was to assist the town clerk's office in learning how to run 5 cemeteries. Since then, we've come a long way. And the purpose for the committee is not as pressing as it once was. Basically, I shan't be there anymore. The committee, in my estimation, should be looking to see that things are running smoothly. If there's something that they think should come to the interest or the attention of this body, that would be their function. If there's a marked increase in vandalism, if the upkeep of the cemeteries, if the grass isn't getting mowed properly, things like this, and to look into some of the long-term projects that the committee has enumerated, such as starting a green section where the burials would be green in nature, i.e. either the casket would be made of a very easily degradable material, or the shroud would be used, or something like this. It's not something most of us are familiar with, but it's a practice that's gaining increased interest and practice.
So, Marcia, do you think a 3-member board would be too little?
If you can get 5 bodies, you're going to have 5 minds working on problems instead of 3. I shouldn't have said bodies, should I? If you can get 5 individuals.
It's kind of a morbid kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
You get used to it.
I should have dressed in black.
I'm just wondering, because, you know, you're,
Well, that is up to you folks. The board felt, and I was one of those that agreed, that 5 is a good number.
And if you have 5 members, you need at least 3 for a quorum.
Yeah.
So even if we were to say it's 3, you still, you know what I mean? It's sort of not much of a difference.
Yeah.
well, I know, but if it's hard finding live individuals, you know,
Well,
and if it's just an oversight committee, you know, and it's not, it really is try to just, you know, help the town clerk out. And,
Yeah, and any action that this board sees fit goes to you.
Right.
This committee is just advisory.
it's just advisory,
So-
right, so I don't know.
I think
If you-
leaving it at 5 is sensible, because you still
Okay.
need 3. I don't know, maybe I'm thinking
No,
of it
I-
logically, but,
Well, I'm just thinking, that they made this recommendation and they're pretty familiar with what it takes. And if it turns out in a while that 3 would be plenty, we can change it again, and they can bring that recommendation.
Hopefully we'll find 3 more volunteers to fill up the rest of the committee.
It is getting harder and harder to fill committees.
It's interesting, when this committee first formed, the reason that it was designated no fewer than 5 and no more than 12 was because at that time it was also hard to find volunteers, and yet we had 12 people volunteering for this one committee.
Yeah.
And they didn't want to turn anyone away, so all were appointed, but that sort of dwindled since then.
well, it was nice having 12 bodies because we had a cleanup day at one of the cemeteries ourselves. But I think that also weeded the weeded the crew out, because it's when you fill a dump truck with refuse,
Right,
one of the town's big dump trucks, you know you've had a busy day,
yeah,
whether you've got 5 people or 12.
yep.
It's been a good committee, and I think we've accomplished a lot.
Yeah,
And as Marshall said, what we're doing now is dwindling, but things arise, you know,
exactly.
from time to time, and we also see ourselves as advocates for the cemetery. We did talk of disbanding a couple of years ago, I think, and decided that no, we want to stay on.
Well, I hope, and I know this is a little bit off this topic quickly, but it still has to do, I hope that somebody brings back to the board the roof on the mausoleum. That has to be taken. I can't believe we keep putting it off and putting it off.
I can talk about it if you like.
Well, you know, I just think it's a travesty that we haven't taken care of that. I mean, that's just
I'm not going to argue with you.
good. Well, I'll push for that, so.
Yeah.
But
First action of the committee.
make sure the committee gets it to us before the budget season begins, and
Yep.
I just think that's, you know,
It's time to do that.
it's time to do it, yeah. You know, so, make sure they bring that up. Oh, you're gonna be gone.
Yeah, that's okay.
Well, Lynette, you'll remind us,
I'll remind you, yes.
that you will. So do we need, how do we,
we have to
We
make,
move
I want to
motion.
ask our public if they have any questions.
sure. Their,
Yes.
their bodies too.
Yep, so John, you gonna make the motion?
Uh,
To read,
To reduce the number of seats on the cemetery committee to 5 with staggered 3-year terms.
okay, we have a motion to reduce the number of seats on the cemetery committee to 5 with staggered 3-year terms. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, abstaining? It passes 4-0.
So the only thing we had to do on the first one was the reading, right?
Yeah, we're doing the first reading, and in 2 weeks, we'll do the second reading, have a public hearing, and then vote.
Well, Marshall, we'll miss you.
Yeah.
You're not going anywhere.
What?
You'll be off for a year, then you'll be back on.
No, I'm cutting back all around, so.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Thank
But how did you get to be the only one that's allowed to make motions?
Well, because,
He's
I don't know.
quick. We're asleep.
Look at the rest of the group here. Okay,
He's full of more hot air than the rest of us.
there you go. Now it's coming out.
Thank you very much. Okay, here's the thing that makes me crazy every year, is the annual dog warrant. And I don't know, Patrick, are you the one that's going to explain this to us?
Sure. Each year, the board is asked to approve the annual dog warrant, and the dog warrant is included in the board packet. It shows the list of all suspected dogs and their owners that have not obtained a license. When the board approves the warrant, that list is provided to the animal control officer, who will follow up with the folks on the list. And there's usually a lot of correcting that needs to happen if dogs have passed away and are no longer with us. But for those dogs that are still with us and their owners have failed to adequately license their pet, there will be a fine, and the animal control officer will follow up with them.
And there's more to it that drives me absolutely crazy.
This is true.
8 pages of dogs.
No, I think, and I always say this, have to say this every single year.
Yes, you
The
do.
ultimate extreme punishment is that the dog is taken away from the owner and euthanized. And of course, I have to say, I don't think the dog should be punished. It's the person who does not get the license that should be punished. I say this the last 3 years. Well,
And I can't recall when there was a dog euthanized.
that's what I'm always told, but I think it's sort of, to me, it's the wrong,
This kind of goes right after the cemetery committee, doesn't it?
the wrong entity
Yeah.
is
Is being punished.
is being punished.
Big house.
Yes, Dick.
So if we publish the delinquent water payers and the delinquent taxpayers in the annual report, why aren't we publicly putting the unlicensed, the names of these people in the paper, as we do with the people who don't pay their taxes or water bills?
What,
Not entirely sure.
I think for one reason
Unfortunately,
is we
it's a
don't,
fairly long list, but I really don't know why we don't do that.
Sometimes that tax list is fairly long, too.
This is true.
I think the other thing too is that we don't know if a dog is deceased.
Or somebody moved.
I think
somebody moved.
Annette has something.
What actually happens with this list is after you have signed it, it goes to the police chief, who gives it to the animal control officer, and one by one, she contacts all of these people. And what you're going to find is probably 25% of them, at least, don't reside here anymore. So when we sent out the renewals, and then when we sent out the delinquent notices, they never received them. Some have come back to us undeliverable, but not all. So a lot of them we think are probably no longer even around. But by the end of the year, usually by the end of December or earlier, Kathy Barrows has the list all in order. Either everybody has come in that's available, that's still here to license, or she's determined that they've moved away by one means or another, if
So
that helps.
is there anything that we require when they register the dog that asks them requires them to notify us if the dog passes away, so we can take the dog off the list?
It does. When we send the renewals in January, it says if your dog has passed away or you no longer have the dog, to contact the town clerk's office. And a lot of people do, but some don't. And if they move out of town themselves, the last thing they think of doing is getting in touch with us and telling us that their dog is no longer in Brattleboro.
Now, Annette, can I ask, you might know the answer to this question. It has, for people that aren't sitting at this table, there's the owner's name, the phone number, the dog's name. Then it says expires, and some of the things are in 2017 and 2019. Do you know what that?
Yes, it's when the rabies certificates expire.
Okay.
A rabies shot is good for 3 years, and this is when the shot will expire.
So this is not the license
No,
expiring, it's the
no, all the
rabies shot.
licenses are April 1st
Okay.
for 1 year. They
Okay.
all start at the same time.
Okay.
I was just happy not to see my name on it.
Could read the list.
It's a very long list.
It is.
Any more questions from the board? David, you look like you were thinking, but you're not.
No, I was just wondering if Dick would like to read the motion.
Oh, sure, to approve the annual dog warrant.
right, we have a motion to approve the annual dog warrant. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes 4-0.
You get to sign it.
And is there any other business to
I'd
come
like to note the
before?
time.
I would
Anything else we should
too.
talk about, Russ?
I know, anything else we can do? Well, we have our power here.
Sign it
No.
off.
I guess I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All those in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to do the thank you to our ASL interpreters, to our members of the public, to our members of the press, to the BCTV staff, and to everybody out there watching. And we'll see you in 2 weeks.